Hi, I'm Kathy McNeely. I'm the Managing Director at the Foundry here in Fallbrook. Here at the Foundry we have nationally acclaimed sculptors who are renting studio space from us, including Les Perhacs, Peter Mitten, who's the artist whose work is behind me, and Célou Bonnet, who is a French artist.
The Foundry is a full-service sculptural facility and art studio, housed in a large industrial building which for many years was an actual foundry. There is a 5,700 square foot workspace, of which 2,000 square feet is maintained as flex space for visiting artists who can rent space on a month-to-month basis, and the remaining 3,700 square feet is reserved for in-residence or long-term lease artists. The Foundry features large open workspaces with a high ceiling, heavy lift hoists, a forklift, loading dock, and large fenced-in outdoor staging area with plenty of parking.
Our business is also in creation of large projects, fabricating large projects, doing, having the ability to design things, design them digitally, design them in bronze. We have casting capabilities because this was once a foundry, and now we use those facilities mostly for demonstrations and for educational purposes. Let me introduce you to a local artist here in Fallbrook by the name of Les Perhacs. This piece is entitled Cradle, and it is a fabricated bronze artwork that was done here at the Foundry when the Foundry was in business. Les Perhacs is a world-renowned sculptor. We are very fortunate that he is residing here in Fallbrook. He gives a great deal of reputation to our community, and his artwork is in collections around the world.
Another world-class artist is Peter Mitten, whose earlier work Meta Comet is shown here. And some other public works of Peter's. And Célou Bonnet, a French sculptor who, as a gifted bronze artist, has been utilizing the Foundry service for years. And now, let's visit three of our current in-residence designers.
Hi, I'm Chris Pardell. I'm a sculptor here at the Foundry, and I'm working currently on this freeform system, which is the most sophisticated modeling system in the world. It allows me to work just as I would traditionally in clay, only directly in the computer. So I can actually sculpt in 3 dimensions just like I was working with clay. Look at this model from any angle, at any scale. It uses this haptic arm that allows me to feel the surface of this digital model. I can actually, there's little motors in here that give me force feedback through my hand, so that it basically capitalizes on the same skills that I already have developed as a sculptor working in clay. If I can work in clay, I can produce sculptures using this tool. And then output the final result anywhere from the size of a jewelry charm to a 40-foot tall sculpture. The reason I like being here at the Foundry is because there's lots of other artists here. They're all creating, there's all kinds of different media being worked in, everything from stone mosaic to fabricated bronze, and that creates kind of a synergy when artists are together. They play off of each other, they give each other ideas, and it creates a very exciting environment for creating art, as well as just the fact that it's such a large space. It gives me the opportunity to create anything at any scale.
Chris is also a highly sought-after clay and bronze artist.
This is the maquette that I did for the Veterans Memorial over in Temecula, over at Rancho California in Inez last year. We did this and life size in bronze. And I also got to design the entire installation, the site, everything down to the lighting. Basically, I don't just do figure sculpture. I design everything from architecture to products to signage to just about anything.
Chris started sculpting when he was 4 years old and was trained traditionally in clay, stone, and metal for 5 years when he worked as an apprentice for an Italian sculptoring family in Chicago. And next, we have Michael Stutz.
I'm Michael Stutz. Hi. I'm a sculptor who has been working in this space here at the Foundry for going on 4 years now. Originally, I actually came down to Southern California from San Francisco, where I spent many years working as an artist, working in display for Macy's, doing all sorts of different things, while also doing my paintings. What you see, though, when you look at my work now is, as a sculptor, mostly came about from, I spent a brief period of time in New Orleans in the mid-90s. And what I did there was work on the Mardi Gras parades. And the Mardi Gras parades would utilize this same type of technique of using cardboard and contact cement. And I guess I kind of accidentally fell into being a sculptor. Nowadays, I do a lot of public percent for art commissions, which is like the golfer here for Ventura. I also get a chance to make pieces like the cardboard, which still remains really close to my heart as far as the most supple kind of material I can work with. When you see one of these, it's a result of a pretty complicated process I go through in developing these. And you see I kind of get to create the model 3 different times. First is a solid form, cut that up into pieces, make a frame that goes in the inside, and then wrap that. And then I do this very same frame in plywood, full scale, and wrap that with bronze. This project is really probably the most straightforward thing I've ever done. It's the entrance to a golf course in Ventura. That's the site. And I think it's one of the things I'm not ecstatic about golf or anything, but I know that the people that will use the golf course are, and they'll enjoy this sculpture. This is for a golf course in Ventura, California, city project. You can see he's really strong, because what happens is little monkeys come out and they climb on the stuff when it's out in public space. And this is all made out of bronze, sheets of bronze that are sheared into strips and then welded together. There's thousands and thousands of welds. And the thing's got a stainless steel armature inside of it. So it really can't, the bronze isn't strong enough to stand. It's all the stainless that really brings it up. So this is like one of the big, massive projects that I'll do in here. And that's how I ended up coming to this space. When it was running mainly as a foundry with Linda Perry, it was always a place where I could fabricate. There's no casting involved in this. It's all what they would call fabricating as opposed to the foundry process. This is a big cardboard horse bust. It's called Lithonia because it's made out of boxes, and one of the boxes I found was for a lighting company in Georgia. called Lithonia, and it sounded kind of, I don't know, classic or something, even though it's just cardboard. And this is made to go outside, spend some time outside. It's got a big plywood armature on the inside. Can you get inside there? Yeah. Up in here. So one way I think about these pieces is they have their exterior, which we perceive, and then they also have these interior spaces, and it's kind of about internal, external, public, and private, and it ends up being in a sense, it's like that's how we as individuals are out in public space. We project ourselves on one level, but we also have this whole interior world in which we're living. And I like that aspect of the sculptures. They're big, but the idea is that it's also not so massive that it implodes the space and it's less imposing despite its scale.
Michael's works are so dynamic that they seem to take on a life of their own. One could easily imagine this hawk soaring. And finally, a most versatile and accomplished artisan, Bill Ironhand Swick.
This is a series that I did when I was on the board of directors at the Edward Dean Museum in Cherry Valley. And these are self-portraits, oils. This is another one. And this is a print from a pencil drawing they did called A Dog and His Man, because he was the dog's pet. And one day I was walking by the barn, they were sitting there, and he was brushing the dog. And I happened to have my camera, and I caught the image. And I sold the original for $5,000 to an heir of the Burlington Mills fortune, and then I took the money and invested it into a limited edition prints, which I'll have for sale here on the 30th. And this is my first oil painting when I was 15, probably around 1961 or somewhere in there. And then my dad had done the frame for me. This is another self-portrait with my shield. I also painted this at the museum in Cherry Valley. I did a whole series of paintings there, and this is a self-portrait with my beaded shield and my bow. This is my bow right here. This is a 48-inch pony bow. It is made from Osage orange, and it has about a 90-pound pull right here. It's different from a European bow because this is made to use from horseback. And the flights of the arrows are rather interesting. Most of these are bone, which predates the stone. This is a war arrow right here. And the knock is here, and it's designed to go between the ribs. Whereas a hunting arrow, where the animal's on fours, that's designed for the arrow to go between the ribs. So these are all handmade. They're usually designed to be just about the length of your arm. These are a little bit longer because I'm a little bigger. This is a mural in Banning, California. It took me 11 months to paint it. This is the original wall in the side of the building. It's right downtown on Main Street next to City Hall. The brick here is original brick that is integrated into this wall here, so it had to stay. They tried to tear it down with a backhoe, and then they found out it was integrated into this wall, so they had to leave it. And it was the worst eyesore in the town. They commissioned me to do a mural on it, and it took a long time for me to figure out what it was. And then I remember from when I went to the Indian school when I was young, I used to see the ruins of the Spanish soldiers' barracks, you know, the adobes. And I walked out there and I said, "It's a mission." And then I remembered when I was a kid in Banning, there was St. Boniface Mission and Indian school. So I did it primarily from memory. It's 117 feet long and 2.5 stories tall. And there's a 4-foot sidewalk that runs through here, which is painted like the Spanish tiles. There's an iron gate in here, a Spanish gate. And then the other side of this wall is 12 by 12 painted Spanish tiles. I needed a project for the people who wanted to help with the mural project in downtown Banning. They had no artistic abilities at all, so we created the Spanish tiles, and then we did the template, and Jody traced them out for them, and then they came in every day and painted on this. On the ox cart is, did you do the painting? You did the painting of me. Yeah, okay, so this was a big project. This is myself bringing the hay into the mission, which they used to use to make the adobes. And back here, in the back behind the mission, that represents the school, St. Boniface School, which was an industrial school for the Native Americans. The blacksmith here, this is the site of a shed. This is an actual shed here. And so we converted this with a painting of the owner of the building, blacksmithing. And then this is Friar Justin. He was one of the original friars at the mission school. And then over here, let's see, over here is Charlie, and he was the cook at Patty O'Reilly's restaurant. So he's he's the vaquero bringing in the groceries. When I lived in Illinois on a horse ranch, I found this hollow tree out in the woods. So I cut it down and I brought it back. It's an oak tree, and I hand carved the inside of it. And then each side, it took an entire rawhide to make the drum. And the first powwow I took it to, the drum asked if they could borrow it and use it for their powwow. And they used it, and they named it Loudbear because it was so loud. And it has a really nice tone, and it, depending upon where you hit it, there's variances of tones, including it's a very loud one. We get about 8 guys beating on it.
The Foundry in Fallbrook offers unique and exciting opportunities for all. From established craftsmen looking for a dynamic, energetic workspace, to those entry-level artisans in search of a creative environment, where they can learn fabrication, mold making, bronze casting, glass blowing, 3-dimensional design, and more from the pros themselves.